Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. This fun strawberry jam jar on this pretty gingham background, which we will draw by hand. The only special thing that we use is the custom polka dot brush that is the pattern on our jar lid. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also am offering extra exclusive Procreate tutorials over on Patreon, so I will link that in the description if you want to check that out. But before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette and the custom polka dot brush. I have them linked in the description below. They're totally free to download. For the color palette, just open up the file that downloads on your iPad and it'll automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. And then for the custom brush, you will just need to open up your brushes library in Procreate. And then if you want to save it to a certain folder, like a patterns folder or a custom folder or something, go ahead and find that folder. Whichever folder you're in is where it will save, and then click the plus icon in the top right, and then click import and find the brush where you downloaded it. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we will be working with today. So we are actually going to leave our background white to start. We'll add our gingham pattern that's going to be our background at the very end after our jar is completed. So we'll just draw on our white background for now. So let's just go ahead and start drawing our jar. So that's going to be on layer 1 here. And we are going to start with this first color on the first row of the color palette. That's going to be kind of like our glass color. And then we'll draw the jam inside with this next red color. But we'll start with this first color on the first row. We will be on the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. Let's go ahead and set that to about 50%. And we are going to turn on symmetry. So to do that, we are going to go to our gear icon. Under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, and then click edit drawing guide, set it to symmetry, and make sure you see a vertical line here. If you do not, you might need to click vertical under your options here, and then go ahead and click done. And we want to make sure that symmetry is active on this layer. So if you go to your layer menu, this layer now should say assisted. If it does not, click on it and turn on drawing assist, so that we can use symmetry on this layer. But now with symmetry turned on, we're going to start drawing our jar. So you can draw pretty much whatever shape that you want. You can draw like more of a mason jar with like straight side edges, rounded corners, and a straight bottom edge. You can draw like a rounded jar. I am going to draw a jar that's like rounded on the bottom. It's a little skinnier at the top, I think. So I'm going to start with my brush and just make a circle for my bottom, right, and left corners of my jar. So I will just start a little ways away from the symmetry line here on the right side and just make a nice little circular shape. Hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle, and then go ahead and let it go. I'm going to click my circle button at the top and just bring them a little bit closer together. Our jar isn't going to be huge because we want to see a good amount of our background. So maybe right here I might make my circles a little bit bigger even, like so. Okay, then I'll grab my pen again and then I will connect them at the bottom with a straight line. So starting right at the bottom of this right circle, I will start drawing there, draw a straight line across to the middle, hold it down till it turns perfectly straight, and then touch my finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Then click the edit button at the top if you need to like move it around so we can make sure it lines up nicely at the bottom here. You could also make it slightly curved at the bottom if you would like. So then to do that, you would just start at that same point and just kind of make a slightly curved line towards the middle, hold that down. If it turns into a line, you can just click the line button at the top and click arc, and it should give you a nice arc shape that you can kind of adjust, you know, like so. I might actually use that line instead, so you can do a straight bottom or a curved bottom, whichever you prefer. And then I am going to make kind of curved sides, so I'll do a similar thing that I just did, but I'll start on the right side here, on the right side of this circle. Draw a curved line going up towards the top, hold it down. It did turn into a nice arc for me, but then I'll still click the arc button at the top to edit it and just make sure that it blends in nicely with my circle on the side here. And make sure that I like the arc shape. I did have it get skinnier at the top, like so, but then I can also like adjust kind of the length of it and the angle of it as well. Maybe about right there. And then I'm just going to make a straight line across the top to connect it, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. We will cover this top part with our lid and our lid cover, so that is fine for the top. And then I'll just go ahead and fill everything in. So I'll fill in my main shape, I'll fill in my circles, I'll fill in this little gap that I made at the bottom here. Just make sure everything is nice and filled in all the way around. Okay, so this is going to be the shape of my jar. So now if you need to do any other resizing or anything, you can. Just click your arrow tool. You can either set it to uniform to resize the whole thing. You can set it to freeform if you want to make it like taller or long or wider or anything. You can even use warp if you want to change any of your curves or anything. The only thing is it doesn't use symmetry, so you do kind of have to do it on both sides if you want to kind of change the shape, symmetrically. So I might make mine just a little bit bigger. And then I am going to recenter it on my center line, so make sure the snapping is turned on the bottom left. And recenter it on our center yellow line after you do any resizing, like so. So our vertical yellow line here. I'm going to have it be a little bit closer to the bottom of the screen so that we have a little bit more room on the top for our lid. Right about there is good. Okay, next we're going to make our jam on the inside of our jar. So to do that, we're going to go to our layer menu. We're just going to make a duplicate of this jar layer. Make sure that we're on the one on the top. Grab this red color, the second one on the top row, and drag and drop to fill it in. Then we're going to click our arrow tool on uniform and drag this down a little bit and then recenter it inside of our jar layer here. So you want it to be on your center yellow line that's vertical, and then you should see these blue lines pop up also. So a blue horizontal line and maybe a blue vertical line or the yellow vertical line. And that just shows that we are directly in the center of our jar shape that is behind this. So we just want a good edge all the way around. So nothing any bigger than this probably. It could even be maybe a little bit smaller. And depending on your shape, if you need to, you might need to use freeform so that it just looks even all the way around. That is what we're going for. Okay, now we can make our lid. So to do that, we are going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer above all of our layers. We are going to grab the third color on the top row of the color palette, same monoline brush at 50%. And we are just going to make our lid, which is just going to be kind of a circle shape. Obviously, we see the side of it, so it'll be more of an oval. So we will just go ahead and draw a nice oval shape like so. Hold it down until it turns into a perfect oval, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. And then we want to just set the size to where it's about the same size as the top of our jar, if not a little bit bigger. Not any smaller though, so maybe about this size. Wherever it's placed is fine, we can move it around. If yours turned into a circle when you touched your finger on the screen, that just means that you drew it a little too close to a circle shape, so just redraw it as more of an oval, and then touch your finger to the screen to get it to snap to horizontal. That is what we are looking for. Now that this is done, we can go ahead and fill it in. And then if we need to do any resizing or anything, we can do that using our arrow tool on either freeform or uniform. I might make mine just a little bit bigger, and then I will center it on my yellow line again and just drag it just towards the top somewhere. We're going to make it a little bit longer now, and then we're going to add the little wavy cloth around it, so it will definitely cover up. We just want to make sure it covers up the whole top of our jar but placing it about here should work. So then to extend it so it's like more 3D and a little bit longer on the sides, we are going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this oval layer, click the arrow tool, and drag this one down a little bit on our center yellow line still. About this thick will be the thickness of our jar lid. Okay, and then to connect it to our top one on each side using our brush, I am just going to make a little vertical line here to connect them. So starting on the very left side of this one, draw a line straight up, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical, and then click Edit Line to drag it around and just place it nicely here so it connects them in a nice smooth line there. If there's any little bit in the middle here, just go ahead and fill it in with your brush. Do the same thing on the other side, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Click Edit if you need to move it around a little, place it there nicely, and fill in any gap. Now we need to make the little wavy line around it to kind of be like our little cloth. So to do that, we'll just do that on a separate layer. Now that these two layers are connected though, I'm going to connect them on my layer menu. So I'm going to snap them together like so with my fingers. Then we'll add a new layer right on top for our cloth layer. We'll eventually snap it to be connected with this layer as well, but we want to draw it on its own for now so that we can do any adjusting. So same color, same brush, same size. And I'm just going to start on the left side here where the bottom of my lid is. And I'm just going to kind of start there, go out and make like a little wave like so. Then I'll start here. I'll kind of like loop around, make another wave. The key is to draw pretty quickly. That gets you a nice smooth line. So I just kind of start drawing, and then if I hate it, I just redo it. But we can draw pretty quickly, and I can even do a couple at a time. So maybe I'll do this one like bigger, and then that one to connect to my side again. So again, that looks pretty rough. I will start again. But that looks pretty good. I'm going to connect it a little bit better on the left side here. And then it's not connected at the top, even though it looks like it is because it's connected to this top jar piece. So I'm just going to draw a line straight across to connect both sides and then fill it in. You might need to fill in a couple different sections. Okay, then we can kind of just go through and like make some more adjustments. I might make this one a little bit bigger. But it doesn't have to be perfect. I like that it's kind of wonky. This one's like a little bigger. This one kind of sticks out at a different angle. This one's a little shorter. We do just want to make sure that these curves on the inside are nice too. So you can go back in with your eraser also on the monoline brush if you need to. And kind of like redo these like inside curves. If that helps. Okay, but that looks cute. I might make the whole thing like a little bit longer. So I'll just select it with my arrow tool on freeform and kind of just drag it down a little bit. But make any other adjustments that you need to. If you need to use your warp tool to kind of like adjust any of the curves or anything, you can do that. So just do whatever you need to do to get it to a place that you like it. And then I'm going to snap it to the same layer as my other jar lid layer here on my layer menu, so they're all in one layer like so. Okay, next up we need to make the little twine that goes around our jar lid. So to do that, we'll just add a new layer on the layer menu, grab our green color, the first one on the second row, same monoline brush, still at 50%, but feel free to adjust the size if you need to. But we are just going to make two like twine lines around our jar lid here to kind of give the illusion that it's like holding this little cloth in place over our jar. And then we'll do a bow on the right side. So let's just start with our bow right on the right side here. So right where like our jar lid, the side line meets like the little wavy out part right here, we will make our little bow. So just two loops like that. Okay, and then from this point, I am just going to make a line over like so. And then from this point, I'll start again and make another line kind of going back. So they just go off the left side here, and that is fine. We want it to look like they're just going right off and wrapping around. Then there's like a gap here, then they cross over, there's another gap. So just kind of however yours turn out is good. We just want it to kind of slightly bend downwards in the middle. So they're a little higher on the left and right side, and then they curve down just slightly in the middle, like so. Okay, now that we have that in place, we can go ahead and add a shadow to our cloth layer here. So there will be a shadow kind of on some of the edges, and then a shadow right around where the twine is, and then we'll add our polka dots as well next. So first up is the like shadow. So we will go to our cloth layer here, the big pink one, add a new layer right above it, click on it and set it to a clipping mask. So this is going to be what we draw our shadows on. With it set to a clipping mask, it will only draw inside of the shape that we already have laid down. Let's grab the second color on the second row. This will be the color that we use. This is slightly darker pink than the pink that we used originally. Same monoline brush at 50% again. And we will go ahead and first add a shadow kind of on the left side here. So I'll just start right on the edge there. Kind of follow my shape around like so. Then maybe we'll add another shadow in here, and then on the left side of this part. Maybe just a little shadow on the bottom of this piece here. And another shadow on this part on the right here as well. So just kind of little shadows all the way around our little wavy areas. And then again, a shadow right around our twine. So I'll just kind of follow the bottom and the bottom of this one even as well. So there's a little shadow on the inside there. So something kind of like this. Okay, next we'll add the polka dots to our cloth here. So to do that, we will go to our layer menu, add a new layer right above this one, click on it and set it to a clipping mask as well so that we still draw within our pink shape. And then this time we are going to change the layer style. So we're going to click on the N here to open up our options and drag it up to overlay. That will be the layer style that we use for this so that we get polka dots on our shadows as well as on our base pink color. Then we'll switch our color to this third one on the second row. And we will switch our brush to the special brush that you should have downloaded, the dots pattern brush. I have it set to 100%. And essentially, when I draw like this, it makes more of like a grid dot pattern. So to make it look more polka dotty, I am going to just turn my canvas like 45 degrees so we're at an angle like this. And then I will draw the pattern. Then it just makes it look more polka dotty when we turn it back upright, like so. So then I cover the entire thing, and then I do feel like they're still just a little smaller than I would like, but this is as big as the brush goes. So I'm just going to instead grab my arrow tool, set it to uniform, and just increase the size of this whole layer that I've laid down till it gets a little bit bigger, maybe about right there. It looks good. So those are my polka dots. So as you can see, with it set to overlay instead of just a normal layer style, we get darker polka dots where our shadows are. If we would have just set it to normal and it's on top of our shadow layer, there would be no difference in color of our polka dots. They'd all be this light pink color. But with it set to overlay, it mirrors the color underneath it. So they're darker where our shadows are and then just normal where our base color is. So that is why we did that. So that is looking very cute so far. So next up, we are going to move on to finishing out our jam. So we'll add a shadow and some bubbles to it. Then we'll add the label on the front. And then we'll add some little highlights to our glass and our jar lid here to just kind of finish it off. And then we'll add our background. So first up is our jam details. So to do that, we are going to add a new layer on our layer menu right above our red jam layer. Click on this layer and set it to a clipping mask again. And we are going to draw both our shadow and our bubbles on this layer. So our shadow is going to be in this dark red color, the first one on the third row. We're going to switch back to our monoline brush again at 50%. And I am first going to just draw a shadow on the bottom here. So I am going to start on the right side here and draw a curved line going down and to the left a little bit. Hold it down so it turns nice and smooth. Then if you need to, you can click the arc button at the top to kind of adjust the angle here, but I just kind of want a fun little angle at the bottom, like so. Then I will draw to connect it, so I will just kind of start on one end, go around, connect to the other end of the line so that I can fill it in right here. We're also going to make a few small shadows right under where our little cloth is at the top here. So again, just kind of, following the shapes a little bit here and there. Not necessarily following the whole thing, but just getting a nice little bit of shadows around. Okay, and then we'll draw our bubbles too on the same layer. We're just going to switch our color to the second one on the bottom row. And we will just draw a few little sections of bubbles with this same brush. So I'll make some bigger circles with a few smaller circles kind of surrounding them. That's like a little section of bubbles. So I don't just add dots all the way through. I kind of do like little sections of bigger and smaller circles. I'm not holding them down or anything. I'm just kind of freehanding them. So maybe something about like this. So then I obviously just avoided the area where we drew our shadow because we don't want to draw over that. So I just drew them all around it. Okay, so next up is our label. So we will draw that on another new layer. We'll just draw it right above this layer that we just created. We will grab our third color on the bottom row of our color palette. And we are again going to use Symmetry for this now. So we are going to click on this layer on our layer menu and turn on Drawing Assist so that Symmetry is active on this layer. However, I want to switch the symmetry from vertical to quadrant so that we can get a nice rectangle shape. So we will go under our gear icon, under Canvas, click to edit the drawing guide. Under Symmetry, under our options here, select Quadrant. And then I'm actually even going to just drag this down a little bit, this button in the middle, so that we can kind of center it on our jar here. So we'll center it officially after we're done drawing it, but let's just go ahead and drag this down so that we can kind of see the space that we're working with instead of drawing it up in the middle. Then go ahead and click Done. Again, we're on this new layer that's assisted, and we have our third color on the bottom row, monoline brush at 50%, and I'm just going to draw a rounded rectangle here. So to do that, I'm going to start from the center, go up a little bit, go over more, make a circle shape, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle, set the size maybe about here. Then click the circle button at the top if you need to adjust it to either move them around or resize them. Then I'm going to go back in with my pen and just connect them with vertical and horizontal lines. So I'll start on the left side here. At the very edge of this circle, draw up to the middle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. Click the edit button at the top if you need to move them around at all, but make sure they make a nice seamless connection with our circles. Then that should be mirrored on the other side, and then same thing for the top and bottom. We'll just make a circle or make a line to the middle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal, and then click the line button at the top to adjust it so that we can drag it to make a nice seamless connection again. Then we're just going to fill in the middle and the circles like so. So now our label is laid down and we are done with Symmetry. So I am just going to adjust it now. So we'll just grab our arrow tool And first we want to center it on our screen. So again, we drag our symmetry around a little bit, so it might not be perfectly in the center anymore. So just go ahead and center this rectangle on your vertical yellow line. Do any resizing that you need to, either on uniform or freeform first, and then just make sure to recenter it. And then just to kind of have it match our jar a little bit, I am going to make some adjustments on warp. So I'll switch to warp here, and then I'm going to drag both of the sides out a little bit so they're a little bit more rounded. So just by dragging the middle area to the left, the middle area here to the right. And then to kind of have it like match our roundness of our jar, I'm going to drag the bottom part in the middle down a little bit, and the top part in the middle also down a little bit, so that it kind of looks more like it's wrapping around our jar. So just something little like that. I might make the whole thing just a little bit bigger now that I have that set, so I'll just switch back to uniform, recenter it. Okay, so now we're going to add the strawberries and the word jam to our label here. So to do that, we are going to add a new layer right above our label layer here. Grab the second color on the top row of our color palette. This is what we will use for our strawberries. Same monoline brush at 50%. And I'm just going to make some strawberry shapes. So I'll just start with like a triangle shape, kind of at an angle, like so. And then I'll just kind of round it. And fill it in. Kind of smooth it out. Okay, so that's my first one. I will add the leaf to the top of it, and then I'll make a second one here the other way, and then we'll have jam be in the middle at the top. So I will just make my other one over here. So again, just a triangle shape to start, and then we'll kind of round it out. Fill it in. Smooth it and kind of finish it up. Okay, so this one's obviously a little bit bigger than my other one, and even though I do kind of want them to be a little bit different, I don't want them to be maybe quite so different. So I'm going to grab my selection tool, set to freehand with color fill turned off, and I'm just going to select around this right one. Since they're on the same layer, I can't resize them individually. So I might just select around the right one, bring them a little bit closer together. And then I'll just select the layer as a whole now. So just turn that off, select my arrow tool, and drag it over so they're a little bit more centered on my label and more towards the bottom, like so. Okay, then we will draw the greenery for them, and we'll do that on a layer right below this one. So we'll go back to our label layer, add a new layer right above it, so we're in between our label and our strawberries. We will grab our green color, the first one on the second row now. And we will add our greenery. So I'll just zoom in on the right one here, and I'll just kind of make some little leafy shape on the top like so. Do the same thing on the other side. Like so. Again, if you need to adjust their sizes or move them around or anything, go ahead and select them with your selection tool and do so, or you can just kind of go in and with your pen and adjust them if possible. Okay, then we're going to add our dots to our strawberries. So let's go back to our strawberry layer. Grab the third color on the top row of our color palette. And this time we will lower the size of our pen a little bit to like maybe 25 to 30%. And we'll go through and just add these dots all over our strawberries. Like so. So we don't want them quite as perfect as our polka dot pattern would make them. So that's why we're just kind of doing them by hand. All the way around. Okay, and then finally we will add our word jam to our label as well. So we'll do that again on a new layer right above our strawberries. Grab the darker red color, so the first one on the last row of our color palette. We're going to use the same monoline brush. We will set the size to about 20% or smaller if you need to, or bigger if you need to. We're going to freehand the word jam since it's just 3 letters. And this is a calligraphy brush, so it does have some streamline on it, so it is good for writing. If you want to try a couple different calligraphy brushes, you can. The script brush is also really good. You can also turn up the stabilization and streamline on your monoline brush if you need to. So that is if you click on the brush and you go under the stabilization options on the left, you can increase the streamline or increase the stabilization, and that is also helpful for writing. Or if you don't want to write the word at all, you can just go to your gear icon, under add, click add text, and then go ahead and just type it using the text tool and whatever font you would like to use. But we are going to go ahead and just freehand our word. So I am just going to make a big J, an A, and an M like so, nothing fancy. Do it a few times if you need to. Okay, and then I will grab my arrow tool and just center it on my center yellow line again and place it just towards the top here. Go ahead and resize it though, or anything if you need to. I might make it bigger and make my strawberries a little bit smaller. So to do that, I am going to select both of my strawberry layers here. So I'll select my strawberries, slide right on my greenery layer, or you can snap these layers together if you want, so that they're all on one layer now that we're done with them. I'll grab my arrow tool on uniform and I'm just going to downsize them a little bit, kind of recenter them on the label here, like so. And then I'll grab my jam layer and make it a little bit bigger and place it in the middle at the top here again. Okay, and then next we just need to add the little details to our jar that make it look like glass, and then our lid so that we can see kind of like the rounded top of it. Then we'll make our background. So we are going to add a layer on top of all of our layers. Click on the N on this layer and we are going to drag it to hard light. We are going to grab the gray color, the first one on the first row of our color palette. Same monoline brush. We'll leave the size at 20% for our jar details. So our jar, we just essentially kind of want to like outline this oval layer at the top so that it looks more, so that we can see like the edge of it where our cloth is bending over it. So to do this part, I am going to just essentially kind of mimic my oval shape that I originated with. So I'll just kind of draw an oval shape right around here. Hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Set the size so it's about similar, and then we can edit it. So we'll edit the ellipse, we'll move it around. I'll make it a little skinnier from top to bottom and just kind of try to make it like, again, line up with like where our oval edge would be here, if that makes sense. So we're only going to see the bottom part of it. We're going to get rid of this top part. So let's maybe just set it about right here. We'll grab our eraser tool where we'll erase this whole top portion. Okay. And then for the rest, we'll just kind of make little dashes to kind of make little sections. So we'll make some small sections, we'll make some bigger sections, we'll make some bigger gaps with our eraser. Just all the way across like so, just to kind of give us like a little bit of an oval shape there. Then we'll increase our brush size to about 70% to make our jar line. So then we'll do a similar thing down here. We'll just kind of start on the edge and make like little sections of lines that kind of mimic the shape of our jar, just around the edges. Maybe even a couple of dots next to them like this. So just a few of those, like so. Okay, and then that is it for our whole jar and all of our details that go along with it. So now we are just going to draw our background pattern. So this is a fun step. So to do this, we are going to go to our layer menu. We're going to add a layer, drag it all the way to the bottom right above our background color layer, which is still set to white. And we are going to switch our drawing guide to our grid. So to do that, we'll go to the gear icon under Canvas, under Drawing Guide, click to Edit Drawing Guide, and switch to 2D Grid here. And we want exactly 10 squares across. So I think that's about 300. I'll type in 300 here under my size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So if you have the same canvas dimensions as me, you should be able to type in 300 on the size here and have 10 squares across. But if you need to, just adjust it to wherever you need to and count 10 across. And then we're just going to move the grid a little bit. I don't want full squares from left to right. I want a half square on the left, right, bottom, and top. So we'll just move it a little bit in one direction, down and to the right is what I did, until we get like some half squares showing on each side, like so. So there's like a half square all the way around, and then full squares across in the middle. And then we'll go ahead and click done. Now on our new layer here at the bottom, we are going to grab the third color on the bottom row of our color palette, and we're going to grab our selection tool. We'll set it to rectangle, and we'll turn on color fill. And then we are just going to start on the left side here where our first full square is. So we'll skip this first half square. So right where the first full square is, I'll start outside of the canvas right on top of that line. Drag and draw to create a full stripe from top to bottom and cover that first square from left to right and let that go. Click my selection tool to turn it off. Click it again to turn it back on. Do the same thing for the next one. If you mess up and you get too far out of the lines, just go ahead and redo it. Otherwise, you can leave the selection tool on. It's just harder to undo it if you mess one up. But just get them as close as you can. They don't have to be completely perfect, you know, just very close. And then if you even have a gap, you can even go back in. Like I have a little gap on the left here. I can go back in with my selection tool, and I can start in the middle and then go the other way to my line and kind of cover up that gap. But otherwise, they look really good all the way across. So then to get our gingham pattern, we're just going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this layer that we just created. On our new one here, click the arrow tool and click rotate 45 degrees twice so that they're going the opposite direction. And then obviously with a classic gingham pattern, they get darker where they overlap. So to do that, we're going to go to our layer menu, and on this top layer here that's horizontal, we're going to click the N to open up our options, drag the layer style up to multiply, and now they get darker where they overlap. So then we can go to our gear icon and turn off our drawing guide, and we have completed our picture today. So that adds our final step to finish everything up. So I hope you had fun with this drawing. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials from me in the future. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it, so go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.